Well, 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 we are back. Man, I feel like we didn't even have a week between our last show and this one. I feel like everything just flew by so rapidly. But either way, it is April 29th, around about noon. So we'll say good day and we'll start off like we normally do with a thanks to our top sponsor. Our top sponsors are our big vendor sponsors who collaborate with us and have been here. FPEA has been here with us since we have announced the vision for the podcast, and they agreed to support HEF, and they came on board. And their conference, or convention rather, bigger than a conference,
Oh, it's
is
big.
it's huge.
Yeah.
It's coming up, and I know I've been trying to get them to be on so that we could talk about it with them. But I know that they're so busy. I know that they're so swamped with everything that they're doing. That makes it a little bit difficult to be here and to be that nimble. But we'll still tell them thank you for being our sponsor and shout them out. We appreciate that. Um, Let me go ahead and switch views here so we can see everybody. There we go. I don't know if everybody noticed it, but we went to our, I think, first of many in our season of conferences and conventions this past week. And just before getting there, we relaunched the website. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, it's brand spanking new. There's a lot of differences. There's something that I really want to do on it that I haven't been able to yet, because I didn't want to do it in a way that made it annoying to navigate the website. But it dawned on me that it would be really nice if there was a way when people got to the website for them to go, oh, we're here to talk to the lobbyist and go one way, or hey, we're here for the community information or the forum or whatever and go the other way. And so having a choice option. The challenge I'm having is I can't get it to go away. Once someone picks one, every time they come back, it asks them again and again and again. Um, and so I'm trying to find a way to do that, but right now it is what it is. Yeah, you'll see a brand new rebrand of the website, HEF Connect, our 501c3. We just got our IRS affirmation letter in the mail. Excited about that, right, Brenda?
Yes. It was sooner than they anticipated, so we needed it right away. That was great.
There we were lamenting that the future of HEF Connect was in the hands of the IRS, and lo and
Mm.
behold, they did
They
something
came through.
timely. Like,
Yeah.
that's fascinating. Not what you usually hear. Uh, but they did.
I'm
They
sure
came
that
through.
was divine intervention.
I mean, it must have been because they were literally the gentleman that I spoke to from the IRS said they don't do anything before 60 days. Um, and if you look at it, looks like they did. I think it
Well,
was
they had
about,
told me it could be up to a year to get the name changed. It's like, really? Just the
yeah.
name changed?
Yeah. So we were sitting there thinking it could take a full year or maybe just 60 days minimum, though. And I think it came through like right around 45, 40 or 45. So we're
So let's
silly
tell our
excited.
viewers why that's important.
Sure, certainly. So HEF Connect Inc. is the nonprofit arm. We've talked about this a little bit before, but I'll kind of revisit it in case people don't watch the other video and they watch this one. It is where we house, I think, 80% of the work that we do, which is community support. So building our community, equipping them with accurate information, and advocating for them. So when we do get calls from parents who are having an issue with FHSAA or dual enrollment or their district, we come and help advocate
Or
for them and
step up.
or step up. That's been a lot of it over the last year. Um, yeah, I think for a while we were just the PEP support group or something like that. Um, and that all of that isn't lobbying. All of that is community support, and so that's where we house, and that takes a ton of our time. So that's where we house the 501c3 efforts that we do. And since we also lobby with HEF, we have a lot of information that comes straight from the source and is accurate. Sometimes we're working with one of these entities' legal teams, and we're going back and forth with them. So we get to network and talk with people who have the inside track and the accurate information, and we try to share what we can share, and we have the permission to. We try to share with our community to make sure they understand and they know, and they didn't hear something in a Facebook group that throws them off. We want to make sure everybody knows. Anyhow, and that's the 501c3. We have a couple of other projects that are housed under there that are huge, that are really going to help when it comes to lobbying. But the beauty of that is that we're working with our website developer right now too, or our merchant service and our website content management system, to try to get the payments that are the subscriptions and the support that comes in all flowing into the 501c3, so that those, as they add up, are what's the word? Tax-free donations?
Charitable donations.
Charitable donations.
For the purposes of IRS.
That's correct. That's the wording. So yeah, all of that's very exciting. At least I think so. That's been something we've been working on for like a year.
And all those words that you just used are the reasons that we're so helpful to our PEP and UA community, because you understand the back end of all of the web stuff and the payment systems that Step Up have, that they've had so much trouble getting worked out. And so you can help and kind of tell them where the problem is or the hang up is, and then they can go to their web people and try to get the error corrected that's causing people problems. So that's definitely not lobbying, but but it's very helpful to our community when we can work those issues out. And fortunately, it affects a number of people, but really what we do on our advocacy side in the 501c3 part of our work is individual by individual. And so it takes a lot of time working one-on-one with people that have, they can't get their payments, or, they can't get their child approved for a choice school so they can play sports where they want to. Right. It's very time consuming. And
there's a lot of details.
And the community doesn't have any place else to go. I mean, when they run into a problem like that, they can work with local people as much as possible, but then they don't have the contacts that we have at the FHSAA and Florida Virtual and all of the other entities that we interact with on a regular basis in order to help solve people's problems.
And it's interesting because this kind of provides a segue back into our homeschool festival that we were at. But I met someone there from the University of West Florida. Her name was Tiffany, and she works in dual enrollment. And they got worked out the PEP student dual enrollment issue. And I was really excited to talk to her. We may even have her on the podcast in the near future, because she has a lot of insights on how parents can help navigate those conversations with the articulation departments, and how they can she even offered to be helpful in terms of sharing ways that the colleges could do it, like how they did it with us, so that we could, in our conversations with other colleges that are struggling with that, use them as an example and say, hey, you could do it like this, or you could do it like that. So lots of things like that we collect along the way just become really helpful for our parents as we work with them. So, well, let's go ahead and talk about it. I really enjoyed I did not enjoy driving. I hate driving, but I really enjoyed the Homeschool Festival in Pensacola, and it was a one-day event. And Courtney, I don't know if she wants me to say her last name or not, so I won't. But Courtney was amazing. She and the Northwest Florida Hub put on the Homeschool Community Festival, and it was April 25th. If you're listening and you're in that area, you should 100% check it out and go. I know that she said that sometimes homeschooling families up there can be hesitant because they feel like some of these things people just want to make money off of them, and so they're hesitant to go. But it was a really nice crowd, and a lot of the vendors that I spoke to had programs that they just need people to participate in. CERT was one of them. CERT, CERT. They were fantastic. They do rapid response. What is it? Emergency response training. That's probably what it is. ERT, right? Emergency response trainings, where they'll teach teenagers emergency response tactics, and it was fantastic. There's no cost for their programs. They just need the students to come, and they can teach them. And they told me that they have them all over the state. So I'm looking forward to following up with them and connecting to see if maybe we can plug them in through some of our opportunities on our website where we're working with AmSkills and other entities. I would love to maybe bring CERT into some of the home education instructional programs and see how they do together. It would be fantastic. But yeah, some of them, the vendors didn't have any cost to their programs. It was fantastic. Some of them were there just to give away free stuff. And some of them were there as co-ops that people can sign up and participate in. So there was just a lot going on. Crystal, did you get a chance to walk around and meet any of them? I know I did a lot of that.
No, I didn't get to walk around. I was at the booth manning our booth. So,
yeah.
I met all the people that came to me, but I didn't get to walk around to anybody else. So.
Yeah, opportunity. We had a good laugh. Next to us, I think, was a theater. It's not a troupe. It's
They do children's theater classes, from what I understand.
Okay, so it's more like a theater class program.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the best way to describe it. Man, they were fantastic. Everyone there made us feel welcome, so it was good. It was really good.
Yeah, there was an evaluator on our other side. She was really nice too. Yeah, everybody was nice. Mm-hmm. It was good.
And they had someone from Abeka that was there, and I think, cross fingers, Abeka agreed to help sponsor it next year. So definitely looking forward to seeing that. We'd love to see them as a sponsor on our website too. So if anybody knows someone there, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he was just a crowd guy who was sent from home office. He wasn't the guy who makes that decision. So if anybody does know someone to connect us with, we would love to let them donate into our 501c3.
I talked to a really interesting guy. I'm not sure if he was one of the vendors or if he was just attending the event, but he used to work at the Pentagon. And he came up just to see who we were and what we were about. We had a really interesting conversation about freedoms and, parent-directed education and the importance of that. Really interesting guy. I guess it's okay for me to say this. I hope it's okay for me to say this. I encountered a lot of people at the event who had no idea that there was anyone protecting home education rights and parent-directed education rights, or that there was even a need for there to be anyone protecting that. And so I think it's something that a lot of parents may just not have thought about, that the freedoms that we have here in Florida didn't just manifest themselves, and that they actually do need to be protected.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of good conversations with people at the event, just starting from the beginning, where they're like, well, what's HEF? What do you do? And then explaining why we exist and what it is we do.
It was really helpful to have that big sign that we have. And Brenda, those signs are like almost 9 feet tall. The new ones are huge.
They look great.
Wow.
But it just lists a lot of the things since 1985 that HEF, you, Brenda, did and helped accomplish, and through HEF, And I thought it was interesting because you're right. There were a lot of people who I would just kind of start by asking, like, hey, have you ever heard of HEF before? I wouldn't say HEF. I would say the Home Education Foundation, and they would say no, and I go, okay. Well, have you ever heard of Brenda? And some people would say yes, so they hadn't heard of HEF, but they have heard of Brenda. And then some people would say, no, I've never heard of that either. And then we would start talking. A lot of them were from Florida. A few of them were from like Louisiana or Tennessee. And they're like, we moved down here because we felt like Florida has better home education laws. They have a better setup, and this is where we want to be. And I was like, I was blown away by that. I thought that was fantastic. It's a very interesting reason for somebody to just uproot their whole family and move to another state.
I met a whole mix of like people who were brand new and just they're kind of checking it out because their kids are, 2, 3, 4, and they're considering home education. And then people who have been home educating for a while, but might be doing, one method of home education and weren't as familiar with other options. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I got a lot of interesting questions. I talked to a lot of people. Some of them came straight to me like a beeline and
Yeah,
were just like, thank you. Thank you
that's
for
true.
being here. Thank you for what you do for parents in Florida. Thank you. Um, and I'm sure if Brenda was there, they would have been, asking for autographs or something because they knew for sure who
Yeah.
Brenda was.
Yeah.
But others were once I started talking and explained what it is that we do and um, why HEF exists, then a lot of them were like, "Oh," and they had a lot of questions from that point.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it was good that we were there, and I
Mm-hmm.
think um, one of the things that I told a lot of people was we want people to be aware that we exist as a source of accurate information. So you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
be floundering and searching all these Facebook groups trying to figure out how things work in Florida and what the statutes actually say or what they mean because they're sometimes difficult to interpret. Um, there is someone you can ask and get accurate
Mm-hmm.
information. So it was nice to at least for however many people it is I talked to. I think Courtney said there were like they counted 1,000 people that came through the event that day.
Roughly, yeah, I was going to give the breakdown. About
Yeah.
800 guests, which is great. 46 vendors, and 150 of the attendees were vendor attendees who weren't counted as guests. So you put all that together, and it's really, really close to 1,000 people at the event, which
And they
is
did something really
wild.
clever to make sure that most people went
Oh,
to
that
every
was great.
booth. They had like a page that was they called it a passport, but it was kind of like a scavenger hunt. So you
Mm-hmm.
had to get each vendor had a little symbol on the page and you had to get them all stamped and then I'm assuming they turned them in for some sort of reward at the end.
I think
Um,
so.
but because of that, people would come to our booth just to find out who we were and get their things stamped
Mm-hmm.
because they were hunting for us because we were on the paper. So that was a really clever way of making sure that all of the vendors got a chance to talk to as many people as possible.
Courtney told me at the beginning, she goes, sometimes the kids will come up with their paper and just be like, tell them, oh, you have to get your mom to come stamp, so that they come and get to hear what you say instead of just going and getting the stamps. And I was like, oh, Courtney, I was like, that's actually brilliant.
Yeah.
I was like, that's fantastic. Oh, is that keeps the kids from running around getting all the papers stamped and the parents just doing whatever. It was really interesting though. About 800, about 1,000 people there. So many of them didn't know who HEF was. A lot of them knew who Brenda was, but very, very, very few. I would say less than 10 came up and were like, "Oh yeah, we know you. Thank you for everything that you do." Was that about your experience too, Crystal?
I had fewer than 10. I'd
Fewer,
say
yeah,
maybe 4 or
less
5
than 10.
who came up
Yeah.
already knowing what the Home Education Foundation was
Mm-hmm.
and just came over to talk to me rather than
Which
coming to find out what we were.
which is exactly what illustrates what our current issue is right now, just getting the word out, right? Trying to spread the word and let people know that there's a resource. There's a lot of information that's accurate that they can rely on. They don't know. There's a lot of help that's here. There's a lobbyist in the Capitol working for them behind the scenes. and helping spread that word, even with the support tiers that we have, even if it's not about that, if it's just about spreading the information so that it's accurate and people know and have the information that they need, even that's huge. This is why we always ask on our podcast, like, share it everywhere that you can and to whomever you know, because there are still people. I mean, all of our faithful watchers who are here every week, they're like, how can people not know? Even I go and I'm like, how do people not know yet? But it's true. I think about my experience was the same. I was betting that I had missed a few counting in my head, but it was definitely less than 10 out of 1,000 people that knew, right? And that's huge, right? That means we've got a lot of sharing that we can do to people who've never heard of it. So don't be shy about sharing the information. Don't be shy about sharing the podcast or the website or any of that.
Well,
There was a couple.
it's so difficult to pass the word along because the population of parents teaching their kids at home right now were children when we started fighting for our right to home educate and for parents to
Yeah,
direct the education of their children. So there was,
true.
just a handful of people back in the 80s and early 90s up to the mid 90s when we started getting extracurricular activities and Florida virtual, because many of those kids dropped out at the end of the 8th grade because their parents didn't want to teach algebra or chemistry. And when dual enrollment became an option for them, many of them finished out their home education program, and by the time they were 12th grade age, a lot of them already had their AA degrees. So it kept people in home education. But my point is that there were so few in the beginning who actually
Mm-hmm.
knew they had a lobbyist that the population has exploded in terms of the
Oh yeah.
numbers in Florida.
Oh
But
yeah.
if the parents didn't know, then they didn't pass that on to their kids. And there's a lot of new people moving into Florida. So,
Yeah.
we don't have a way to track home education families. And that's kind of a fault of our own.
That's how a
Because,
lot of us want it, though.
well,
What's interesting? Sorry.
because those names and addresses, contact information are no longer collected at the Department of Education, which has to release the information as if there's a public records request. We had an issue with keeping parents' names and their children's names private, and a potential of people that didn't have good intentions knowing where home education families were living.
Right. Yeah.
So we made an agreement back in, I'd say, 94
Hmm.
with the Department of Education that they would no longer collect that information at the state level, and it would be retained at the local level where the parents registered their program, and it's protected under FERPA, which is a federal law. I'm not sure I can even remember what the real words for that is, but it's a law that protects the information of students in public schools. And since we registered the children there, the districts protect that information so that parents aren't singled out and identified. And it's a
Gotcha.
good thing from that standpoint. It's a really bad thing for trying to reach home education families and let them know about what HEF does. So it's
Mm-hmm.
really important for those of us on the calls to share that information. Leaders in Florida should be sharing HEF to all of their Facebook people or to the groups that they have, because that's the only way we have to get the information out.
Yeah, and to illustrate that a little bit further, well, first let me read these. There's a couple of questions. Nicole will come to yours probably a little bit later once we're done with some of this. Deline will come around to your comment as well. Vicky says, it always amazes me how many people don't, or how many don't know about HEF. Many new to home education now. Andrew says, I'm tempted to just respond to uneducated posts on Facebook with just a link to your website. It's wild.
Do
Andrew,
it if you want
go
to.
ahead. Sometimes I think that's the most polite way to just, drop access to better information instead of arguing. You're more than welcome to do that at any time. And then Courtney with the Northwest Florida Hub says we had about 800 festival guests, 46 vendor, 150 cent more in attendance working the booths. A new attendance record of about 1,000 this year. So happy to have the Panhandle meet the HEF, and thank you for coming. Courtney, thank you for having us. It truly was a fantastic event, and we really hope, I know she's burnt out and tired. She does a lot of it herself. Many hats off to her. It's a lot of work. If there's anyone listening that is a good, helpful volunteer, and you're in the Panhandle, she could use some good help. She has volunteers, but an event that size, and as it grows, gets harder and harder to do. So hats off to you, and thank you for inviting us. It was fantastic.
Yeah, thanks.
Back to your comment, Brenda, about the difficulty finding the families. I actually was doing research recently because obviously I work at a marketing company. And that's one of the things that we do is buy lists for real estate agents or investors, and they want to hit a certain neighborhood, or somebody is launching a new restaurant in an area and they want to hit certain neighborhoods. We do list buying. And there's actually a lot of companies out there who specialize in collecting certain data. And one of the things they'll do is they'll capture data from visits to this website or that website, and they're websites that people who are homeschooled would visit. And then you can cross that with LinkedIn profiles and Facebook accounts, and you can kind of get an idea where people have checked in on Google and different things like that. And as you pull all of that data together, you can put together a list. The problem is they're expensive. You can get the data, you can get the information. We leave trails of data everywhere that we go. Everywhere your phone goes and your GPS is on, or you check in somewhere, or you take a picture and it's geotagged, or it all exists, not to scare all of you, but it's just so expensive. And it's one of those things where, I think our approach is let's just be helpful and put out information that's accurate. So people want the information, and as they share it and our list grows, our community grows, then we'll grow as we've earned those connections back and forth.
Spent so much time down there. It seems like,
Or I muted myself. I meant to mute her because I don't want
I guess she
all
has
to
to
be.
take a call. Yeah.
It's okay. It's quite all right. She's in demand. That's how it works. I had a list of people that I wanted to give a shout out to from the event that we met. Definitely Jeremy from 4-H. He was amazing. Really super helpful. He helped with the setup. Courtney had put a meet and greet together before, and we did it last minute, so it wasn't a huge turnout, but maybe next time we can announce it a little bit more ahead of time, because there were a lot of people with questions when they would visit the booth, but then, with 1,000 people, the line people wanted to keep moving. So it made it hard to talk to everybody. So I think it would be cool to do the meet and greet again, but Jeremy with 4-H, we used the 4-H Center, and he helped set it up, and it was great. It was absolutely great. We had, I can't remember his first name, but I remember his last name was Jackson. He was there from the Civil Air Patrol. They have a cadet program, and they were sharing information about the Air Force the Air Force's cadet program for the Civil Air Patrol. So that was neat. FLVS had a representative there. I believe it was Mike. I think his name was Mike. And an absolutely fantastic job. I was listening to him answer this one parent's questions about, how it all works, and he walked her through the process of how they kind of register with their county and then how they set up. And I thought, well, it might be nice to have him on at a certain point too, because there are some parents who want to know more about FLVS as an option, how it works, how do you set it up? What do you do? And he might be a good one to just have on, just to share some of that information for parents that want to. Um, we had, Amy Bodkin. She was very interesting listening to her talk with parents. There were a lot of parents there with children with unique abilities scholarships. So they had UA, and she herself is a person with autism. And I believe she is, I can't remember exactly where she said she worked, but she's a professional. Um, and then she also is an author, and she's a mother, and she has autism. And so she works with parents who have the same. So whenever she works with, she offered to at least to speak to legislators. She was like, "Oh, if we ever need to talk to them, it'll be fantastic, because it's really hard to argue with someone in the position that I'm in." And I was like, "Yeah, I could see that. I could see the value." It's very interesting to hear some of her approach, but there were umbrellas and co-ops. Classical Conversations was there. Tutors, the acting program, Code Ninjas. Code Ninjas was there. I know they're a franchise like Mathnasium, I think, but I think they were also one of the event sponsors, if I'm not mistaken. And they were fantastic to meet and talk to and collaborate with. They do a whole they do like after school programs where they also have time during the day where they just focus on services to homeschool families. And I thought that was fantastic. It's really, really cool. What else? Anyway, yeah, it was a great event. That's I've gone through my notes, so that's all that I had here. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about on that?
Not on that, no, but we can hop over and I can answer Nicole's question
Okay,
about
great.
the testing.
Okay, cool.
So she said, when can we begin our end of year testing for our students, and where will we post the results to step up? So I'm reading between the lines here that she's talking about PEP, since that's the one that needs the end of year testing.
Right.
So you can do your test anytime. We were told by someone from Step Up's legal department that as long as it was done during this school year, this current school year, so you're submitting the renewal for next school year. So your test needs to be from the previous school year, which would be the school year we're currently in. So as long as you take the test during this school year, you can submit those results for your renewal for next year. In terms of when, Step Up has given a deadline of July 31st to submit the results, but they don't actually have a place to submit them set up yet. So for now, I would say go ahead, take your test whenever you want to. Save the results in a place that you can easily find them again, because I'm sure that Step Up will send out an announcement whenever they've got that ready for parents to upload the results. It will definitely be before July 31st, since that's the deadline. And we've been told that they will have a portal inside Emma for you to submit those. They'll have, a little function in there for you to click and submit your results and upload your files. So yeah, but go ahead and test whenever you would like to. If you're wrapping up your school year and you want to go ahead and get it done, just make sure you save the results so that you'll have them whenever the time comes to upload them. And if you're waiting to renew because you're waiting on the test results, you don't need to have them to submit a renewal application. You just have to have them submitted in order to qualify for funding. So you can go ahead and apply for renewal and then get your test results done and then hold on to them and submit them whenever they provide a place for that. So.
Oh, sorry. I just squirreled on another thing. My mind went back to the festival. I was talking with Amy Bonkin, the woman who was they're kind of working with UA parents, and we were talking about reading and books, and how one of the parents' sons was like tearing through books, not physically, but like she couldn't keep up, with enough stuff to read. And so I kind of recommended one thing, and then the conversation kind of took a bit of a turn toward epic fantasy and things like that. And I mentioned, I was like, I enjoy playing Dungeons and Dragons with our kids. And Amy was like, yes. And I was like, okay, I'm really excited that you're excited as I am. We're probably gonna have to dive into that at some point and talk about how what the really rich benefits are. It was interesting because as soon as we got back and got settled, the kids were like, "We haven't played in so long. Let's play." And we dove into it. And I'm like, it's the reading, the writing, the math, the planning, the tactics, the communication skills. Like it's all there.
Well,
Anyway,
and leadership skills, like we last night you
yes.
were having our 11-year-old be the dungeon master, so she was leading the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And she at first was very hesitant and like kind of self-conscious about it, and so she's learning to
Mm-hmm.
kind of step into that role and guide the
Yeah.
whole experience. So that
One of
was really
our
cool to see.
one of our neighbors' kids came over and participated, and she was nervous, and or sorry, our daughter was nervous leading the group with her friends watching, and it put her on the spot, and she cried, and like had to work through the difficulty of, okay, I'm here, I'm doing it, like continue to see it through. There's a lot of good benefits. Anyway, I don't. That's not what this podcast is about. So we'll get back on track. Brenda, welcome back. You're muted because I didn't want your phone call to be broadcast to everybody, so you'll have to unmute yourself. Um, the I had another thought about what we were supposed to talk about. We have a lot of other events coming up. So we have, I think the next one, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have the list in front of me, but I believe the next one is the graduation. It's up here in Tallahassee, and then right on from that into,
The FPEA conference.
I believe that one's immediately following
And
that. Yes,
Yeah, those
and
are
then
both in May.
there's one in Jacksonville. There's one in Jacksonville in June, and then there's another one in
Yeah,
June.
we also have one in, I think, Monticello. I don't know how you guys say
Yes,
it here, but yes,
Monticello.
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 We have one at the end of June, toward the end of June,
Yes,
and
and
then
there's a
the Tampa Bay one in July.
Yes, Tampa Bay Homeschool
Mhm.
Conference, Kim Hannon's event, which is usually also a fantastic one.
And
And I'm
then,
going to be the MC of that event, so
oh,
don't
cool.
not go just because of that.
That'll
And
be
then
fun.
Palm Beach in
Yes, I was gonna
August.
say I didn't remember
Yes,
when that one was, but I knew there was
August
one in
4th, I
Palm Beach
think.
too.
I think it's August. I think it's
So,
the first week
Jason,
of
get
August.
used to driving. That's been my life for a long, long time.
Well, we have at
Yes.
least one conference or convention every single month from now through August across the
Mm-hmm.
state somewhere. So
Across the state. And it's a big state. So, when you drive from
It
Tallahassee
is.
to Palm Beach County, it's about a 7 hour trip.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was more fun when we could take the kids, but when you're just doing it by yourself,
yeah,
it
somebody
We
can be
put
asked
a long
me.
trip.
we put a lot of mileage on our vehicle this past week.
Yeah, we had to go down. Not had to, but we got to go to a wedding as well. So we did extra traveling. And somebody at the wedding asked me like, "So you take your kids with you to all of these?" I'm like, "Yes." The kids go with us to all of these. So I'm grateful that that's the situation and that we're able to travel as a family. It would be a different situation if it wasn't that. But the kids are having a
Oh,
great.
yeah, they are. They're loving it. They get a little bored in the car, but you know, it's a lot of time singing and stuff. Katie Lane says wanted to share that our 17-year-old FESUA daughter was accepted to the Florida Youth Leadership Forum in Tallahassee this summer. That's
Wow.
exciting.
It
She
is
says
very exciting.
as far as we know from her VOC rehab counselor and the program director of the Florida Independent Living Council Youth Initiative, she is the first homeschooled student in our county delegate to attend. So that is
Congratulations.
super cool. Super congratulations. Hey, take lots of pictures and video, and this may be a great time for you to do one of those 60-second videos that we've been talking about. So we put up on the website flhef.org, there's a place on there to tell your story. And there, if you will take a couple of videos and put them together, no more than 60 seconds, and tell, why you home educate, what it means to you, maybe a little bit about how you do it or what's unique and different for you and what impact that's had, and then share that brief testimony with us. This may be a perfect time to take some of those video or stop and have a moment. We're very excited for you, Katie. That's super fantastic. And we would love to share whatever you want to share with us, share out and let people join in celebration with you. That's super proud moment. We're happy for you. That's cool.
Jason, one of the things, and people could comment as to whether this would be helpful, but there are a lot of resources for parents of students with unique abilities that are not part of things that we do, but other parents may want to have that information available. You mentioned two of them while you were reading Katie's text there, that if they could expound, or we could bring somebody on with those organizations to talk about what resources are available, I think it would be helpful to parents.
Absolutely. And if you're a parent and you hear what Brenda just said, and you want to connect some of them or give them a place to go, they can log into the forum and post. We have a section for UA families in our forum, and they're more than welcome to go and post their information there, and so that it's available to everyone to see and know. But then if they want to reach out to us directly and communicate with us directly, you can also give them our email address, info@flhef.org, and we'll be happy to do that. Building community resources and helping our home education families is true. It's truly what the 501c3 end of it looks like. Even M Skills has aspects of their programs that work with children with unique abilities. And they have companies in manufacturing that are willing to hire and apprentice and mentor them on the jobs while they get their certification. So there's lots of cool things that
and isolated parents don't have that at their fingertips. The colleges were required under Senate President Andy Gardner. One of the initiatives that he had was to require colleges to create, and these would be mostly state colleges, but to create a center at the university to help kids with unique abilities to transition into an independent living. So some of them can take courses, others of them will be doing different kinds of training, but those are opportunities that maybe not all parents know about. So I would really love to have those kind of resources available that parents could just come and click on and find links to those places and find the help that they need to help their students transition into life after homeschooling.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of, in general, there's a lot of programs that are no cost that I didn't even know about that are available for home education students, that not even just unique ability students, but just home education students that I didn't know about. And CERT from I'm definitely pocketing that one away from the Florida the Homeschool Festival that we went to. That was fantastic, and there's so many more. In our forum, when we're seeing people at these events, I try to point them toward the forum and get them to post and put their information there, because it truly is its own live interactive space where parents can connect with each other. There's evaluators that hadn't heard about it, and they're like, oh, I can go in there and let people in our area know that that's what I do and I'm available. It's like, absolutely. Anybody stumbling through the forum or browsing through the forum can see and connect with any of that information. Um, May 18th, the graduation coming up. That one's going to be a tricky one. That's going to be a tricky one. Are you coming with me, or are you you're going to throw me to the wolves right away?
My thought was I'd just throw you to the wolves.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm the big
You
boy.
have
I
the
can.
gift of gab, so I don't think you have a problem talking.
Well, I have a problem shutting up sometimes.
I had something that would be a conflict, but
Mm.
I'm trying to decide whether to keep that or not. So I can let you know later.
Yeah, let me know later. I know that Crystal won't be able to be there. She's gonna be busy, and with our one car situation, I'm gonna have to take a taxi or
We will
something.
figure it out though.
Well, why don't we
Yeah.
tell the audience
Yeah.
what
Tell them.
Crystal is going to be doing? Because I feel like
Yes.
we're so blessed to have her on our team, and people need to know that she has all of her own. So, Crystal, why don't you elaborate on what it is that you're doing?
Sure. So I am doing a book signing event at a bookstore that day.
So you're gonna sign random
um,
people's books?
I am going to sign my books. So yeah,
Oh.
I am an independent author and publisher. I have my own little publishing company, and I write young adult fiction, plain young adult fiction. And I connected with a bookstore here in Tallahassee when we moved up here, and they are stocking my books in the store. And then they invited me to come do. They have like local author signing events, and so it's going to be myself and one other author that are going to be there that day doing book signings and talking to people about our books.
Yay.
So
That's fantastic.
yeah,
That's not something that I was able to really find or see for us in Tampa and Brandon where we were.
yeah, there weren't
Um,
really a lot of indie bookstores in the Brandon area. There are a ton
no.
in Tampa, in the general Tampa area, but
Okay.
not as close to where we lived. But this one here, I'm going to be at Midtown Reader. If you're in the Tallahassee area, it's on May 18th. They're doing a happy hour event, and they have a piebrary,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
they do pie and like coffee and drinks, and it's going to be happy hour. So I think they're going to have sales on some of their drinks and pie during the event. So yeah, stop by if you're in the area. It should be fun, and I can meet you in person
Yeah. It's a cute little
What time
store.
is it?
from 3 to 5 on the 18th.
Hmm. And the graduation's from 2 till
Yes,
I
the
think whenever.
graduation's from 2 to 5, I think. So
So you're
definitely
gonna
a fun place.
abandon me for your book signing?
Well,
That's
yeah.
worthy. That's worthy.
Normally,
That's
I would be at the graduation and like man the table while you do the speeches or whatever it
I
is,
know.
but this time I won't be able to be there. But
No worries. I think
I
it's gonna be
really wanted,
fantastic.
I really wanted our community to know that we are so blessed with Jason and Crystal, who does all of the responding. Crystal is sort of our manager of the forum, and she does an amazing job with answering the questions and responding to people. And so we were so blessed to get two for the price of one here,
Yeah.
as they felt called to do a replacement of me. And so it's better than having me. You get better responses quicker and more
Oh,
information. So I am so happy that they are both on our team.
well, you could
it.
also look at it as though it takes two people to fill your shoes. So there's
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a work worth doing,
it is.
and I will never say that we'll do it better. But we do have different tools and different skill sets, and I think it's important that we pour them all into this so that we can do the best that we can in your absence. You've been so good over the years, just talking to all the parents at the Homeschool Festival, and seeing that the years of time people have been home educating and then not know how their rights are protected and how they got recognized and how the different opportunities for home education families, bright futures, dual enrollment, and extracurriculars, the Craig Dickinson Act, like all of these take years and years of personal sacrifice and life work. And we thank you. We thank you for seeing that as a calling and being the person to stand up and do it. We're really grateful. And we hope, Crystal and I hope that we do as good a job as you. So
I feel comfortable that y'all will do a better job.
we'll see. We are getting low on time, and you and I have to be on a call at 1 because we have a networking call with private schools to kind of work on some of the things that are important issues with, home education parents, hybrids, private schools, and talk about some of those things that'll be coming up for the next legislative session that are important. So we're going to bring the live stream to a close, but we want to thank everybody for being here with us. We had a steady viewership, and as we said before, thank you all for being here with us, and thank you for sharing out the content. There's still so many people who just haven't even heard that we're here. So we're very thankful for just sharing it, sharing the information that we give and that we put out. So is there anything that you want to say to close out with, Brenda?
No, it's just that the next few months are going to be very busy with looking at what the upcoming session is going to involve, and campaigns are out there. We want people to get involved in campaigns so that we basically have some collateral to pull on when they get into office and they see that home educated families are committed to helping them so they can help us. And just get involved. It's really, really important to the work of the Home Education Foundation here in Tallahassee.
Absolutely. And if there's anybody out there that is struggling with something and they're trying to get involved and they feel like they're doing it all by themselves, let them know we're here, and we can help them with those things. So, Crystal, anything that you want to say before we call it out?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Just want to say a special thanks one more time to Courtney for inviting us and putting us up in a hotel and bringing us out to the Homeschool Community Festival in Pensacola. And we are very thankful for that. We're also very thankful to our top sponsors, FPEA being listed there. And we want to say thank you to all of our viewers and all of our loyal listeners. And we wish you all a great rest of your Monday. Be well.